Hello, I'm Yannick Link, and today I will be talking about the Korean War. But before I start talking about this, you'll need to know some background information about Korea. During the Second World War, Korea was occupied by the Japanese Empire from 1910 until 1945. The north of Korea was liberated by the Soviet Union, which is why they turned communist. The south, in the contrary, was liberated by the US, and therefore South Korea turned capitalist. The conflict started in June 1950 when North Korea invaded the south. This was due to the withdrawal of US troops out of South Vietnam. The North captured South Korea's capital Seoul. The UN decided to intervene and help the South. Meanwhile, North Korea had made it all the way to the Mekong River, which halted them from acceding to Busan. On the 15th of September, MacArthur planned an amphibious attack landing at Incheon with the means of cutting off the North Korean supply line. It must have been the most successful move in MacArthur's career. Seoul was taken, and the North Koreans were forced to retreat to the border. The UN now demanded more. They demanded the surrender of the North Koreans. With the North Koreans unwilling to surrender, MacArthur changed the objective into crossing the 38th parallel into North Korea. China warned the UN for interventions if the UN decided to continue pushing back the North Koreans. The UN ignored, and on October 19th, the North Korean capital Pyongyang fell. On October 26th, in 1950, the US made a critical decision by pushing the North Koreans back as far as they could, to the Yalu River, the border between North Korea and China. China now felt so threatened that it had to take action. By November 1st, China sent in almost 1 million troops, enough to make the UN forces retreat. In December 5th, the Chinese continued to advance, crossing the 38th parallel. 15th of December, the South Korean capital Seoul once again fell. In 1951, the UN started another offensive called Meet-Grinder, which halted the Chinese. On the 28th of February, the UN forces once again reached the borders of Seoul. On April 11th, President Truman dismissed MacArthur for criticizing the own government and replaced him with General Ridgway. For 3 months' time, few battles had taken place around the 38th parallel, without much land being taken. In late June 1951, a stalemate developed. For another 2 years, negotiations dragged as battles continued, and in 1953, the Korean War had officially ended. The casualties of the Korean War were 950,000 Chinese, 600,000 North Koreans, 185,000 South Koreans, 125,000 Americans, and 12,000 from other countries. You may be wondering how the Korean War affects us today. North Korea and South Korea are still divided and tensions are still high. North Korea are still communist and no one is allowed in or out North Korea without permission. I hope that you enjoyed our project.